relationship problems people go to you guys with?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know the exact number, but let's just say there's like 10 chapters in the book. We tried to kind of break it down based on the categories that we saw the most, right? So just kind of name a few. Differences in attachment styles, right? It's always a big one. Kind of what happens when you get really activated. Where do you go? Do you pull back? Do you cling, right? Do you tend to be more avoidant or anxious?
Okay. I want you guys to analyze the body language and the response to Mikhaila Peterson's questions. Who talks? Is it the man or is it the woman? By the way, guys, for those of you on the podcast, this is Mikhaila Peterson interviewing two people who have written a couples counseling book. It's Vanessa Bennett and John Kim. But notice, Vanessa is the one who's talking. Who's the dominant in this relationship? The man or the woman? Just keep that in mind, guys.
And I'm more anxious, attached. Vanessa's more avoidant, right? So I'm holding on to her leg. She's running the other way, that kind of thing. After, a decade, we have both worked on ourselves where we're swimming towards secure. I'm not as anxious as I was in my 20s, and she's not as avoidant, but it's still there, right? So that's a big one. Different love languages.
Yep, love languages.
I write. I'm a writer, so Vanessa as well. But my love language is tell me I'm attractive, tell me I'm sexy, write me poems. Like that stuff goes far with me. I also express myself in that way.
That makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
You see. Look. You see the contempt, guys? So Mikhaila is just dying laughing. She's like, oh, you're so lucky, girl. You're in a relationship with a guy and he's, woo-wee and lovey-dovey, but he's a joke, right? Mikhaila's laughing like the guy is a joke. And the girl is like, oh, he's so pathetic. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, if that's you, your relationship's already dead. Dead in the water.
I feel that.
Vanessa's like, let me go get the car washed. If you love me, do the dishes. So she's acts of service.
Oh.
No, that's not acts of service. She sees you as a beta male. There is no... Okay, by the way, look at his body language. You see how he's kind of exposing his neck? Yeah, he's uncomfortable. Sorry, he's shielding his neck from her. He's uncomfortable. But anyway, that is not a love language, guys. If she says, wash my dishes and I'll love you, that's not a love language. Like, if the girl's saying that. She sees you as a beta male. Like, women are not attracted to a guy that does the dishes. Women are attracted to a man that's superior to them. And they're both therapists, so she sees him as equal. So she sees herself as superior, which is why she talks like this and has the gall to say that something that her husband does makes her uncomfortable on camera to thousands of people. Do you really want to be listening to these guys' relationship advice? This is an unmitigated disaster, guys. Hello and welcome. It's the Helios blog. My name is Helios, here for another reaction video. If you're new to the channel, liking the content, hit that sub, hit all for notifications. If you'd like to support me, I do have a Patreon with exclusive content, newly revamped, posting weekly. Patreon.com/theheliosblog. Just go there and subscribe, guys. Patreon.com/theheliosblog. You could also support me by dropping me a donation like Tom M here. Link is in the description. All right, let's continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I show it that way too. And so it's really interesting.
You said no. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Ain't no way that's true.
Because we actually do take a lot of these kind of like pop psychology type ways of looking at relationships. And we did try to bring it down to whether or not you actually subscribe to like love languages as a thing. It's like there is something to be said for the fact that giving him words makes me really uncomfortable. And it's really hard for me. And
you know why giving him words makes you feel uncomfortable? It makes you feel uncomfortable because he's a beta male. So because he's a beta male in your eyes, you don't want to compliment him. You don't want to tell him he's good because you don't believe it. So of course it makes you uncomfortable. It's incongruous with what you believe. Guys, don't let this be you. Like if she is 35 plus and wants to get married, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. She's looking for a safety net. She's not genuinely attracted to you. She's genuinely attracted to Chad at 22.
And I need to learn to work with my discomfort around that, because it's really important that I show him love in the way that he needs to hear love. Otherwise,
You see, she's talking about her husband like he's a child who's in the room with her. And do you see he's still uncomfortable? Look at his expression. Look at how his head is tilted. You see how his chin is guarding his neck? He's uncomfortable. His shoulder is up, also protecting his neck. Guys, he's uncomfortable. He doesn't like how his wife is talking about him. He doesn't like this is being exposed to the people that are listening. Yeah, I'll say, I can feel the discomfort from here, and I don't even know your relationship.
it's going to be me missing him constantly. So love languages was a big one for us.
Mikhaila, what's your how do you give and receive love? What comes naturally to you? Acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, or gifts.
So I think it's changed, right? Because
By the way, these love languages, that they believe it, especially the guy, means that he subscribes to a feminine-centric way of thinking, which again is indicative of a BP guy, a guy who doesn't understand women's true nature, right? And again, it's just more fuel on my fire. It's more data in the data set that he's a beta male and that his wife sees him as a beta male. It's just very clear to me what's going on here. The dynamic is ridiculous.
It really does.
I've had a number of relationships, and I think with
red flag
relationships that I was in that weren't as good.
Red flag.
I thought that I wanted something different. I was like, and this were like gifts seemed like a good idea. But then being in, like, I'm very happy where I'm at now. And so like it's like I'm way more interested in that than I have been like ever before. And I was like,
yeah. Because the Chad you were with when you were 22, you totally didn't like his touch. The guy who you got pregnant with at 19, yeah, you didn't like his touch. Yeah, that's a lie. Like, yeah, and by the way, notice the evasive way that Mikhaila's answering the question. Yeah, you can tell, like, something's wrong, guys. You can tell.
oh, I thought I just wasn't into that. But no, I was just with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so
The wrong people, plural. Notice, guys. So again, if she's a Western girl, like, you already know it's gonna be wrong. You see what I'm saying, guys? You already know. People, plural. So what? You're getting together with Chad for validation, and then what? And then later on, you're trying to rationalize your decisions after the fact, right? That's what she's saying, right? And it's really funny because I actually know his story. So she was dating a guy who she saw as Chad, of course. Then she got pregnant accidentally, dropped out of university, right? Raised the kid, regretted it, divorced the guy, remarried a different guy, and now she's a disaster, right? That's the situation, guys. And this is supposedly the girl that we're supposed to look up to and that women are supposed to listen to. And she has like millions of views on her videos. Like,
I would say probably words of affirmation. I don't know. Do you know why people have different?
So there is a theory. So more recently, so the guy who wrote the original Love Languages book, Gary Chapman, it wasn't like a research study. He really just pulled this based on his experience in his own practice. But they've started to actually do some research around this theory. And one of the things I find really interesting is that they're starting to be able to correlate what you feel like your love language is, as in how you receive love. For most people, you can attribute it to what you did not get when you were.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't get
I've heard that.
Milk, so,
Yeah.
word.
And so that to me like blew my mind when I heard.
okay, I'm going to point it out again. Who answers the question right away when the question is asked? Is it the husband or is it the wife? The husband is deferential to the wife. Notice also the camera. The wife is closer. The wife is bigger. She's more in frame. The guy is behind. Like, this stuff, like, you might think, oh, this is some BS, he's just pulling crap out of his bum. No, guys. The girl is favored here. The guy is deferential to her. She says that she finds it disrespectful, not disrespectful, she finds it hard to compliment her man because she sees him as a beta male. It's so clear and obvious, right? Look at the dynamic. It's disgusting.
That, because I was like, not only does that make sense for me, but I can see how that's really helpful for a client to understand that, right? And also for the partner to hear that. So like, again,
oh, look, red flags again. She said the word partner, right? Because again, relationships are not an equal partnership. Yes, in 2023 people are brainwashed into believing that relationships are equal partnerships, but relationships are not equal partnerships. There's always a dominant and a submissive, right? Always. In this relationship here between these two therapists, the girl is the dominant and the guy is the submissive. It's so obvious and clear. Very obvious.
if it's uncomfortable for me to give him words, knowing maybe that comes from this kind of childhood place, right? This childlike need for words and to be seen in that way, it makes it almost easier for me to give it to him, because there's something about when you see your partner in that light, right? In that more vulnerable kind of childlike state.
What? Now she's just talking out of a bum, right? Like, women are hypergamous. They want a man, perfect freeze frame, by the way. They want a man who's better than them in every way. Taller, stronger, fitter, faster, more money, more charismatic, more friends, better friends, everything. So if a girl sees her husband in a more childlike state, in a vulnerable state, she cannot possibly be attracted to him, because he's not attractive if he's like a child.
That drops a lot of defenses. You don't personalize things so much. And you essentially say, like, I have to get over my discomfort with this because his like inner child needs this.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, I actually feel bad watching this. I feel bad for the husband. Genuinely feel terrible. Okay, let's read an article by Rolo Tomasi. Anyway, acing the test. One of the first observations formal PUAs had when they were testing and refining their methods was that of the new ubiquitous shit tests women would present them with. It's important to put this testing dynamic into context, because as most any guy who's ever made an approach will tell you, not just PUAs, there comes a stage in the approach when a girl will set up a challenge for a guy. However, as any married man will tell you, that's not where the tests end. Over the holidays, I was hanging out with my brother and watching my niece and nephew interact. My nephew is 16 and his sister is very mature 12. But to see them interact, it's one test after another. There's the fluid teasing and taunting that comes from siblings that genuinely like each other. Well, mostly. But as I watched these two interact, I thought back to how my brother and I used to give each other crap, smack each other around, and basically roughhouse-like boys used to be able to do before a feminine primary society decided they needed to be medically sedated for their quote-unquote condition. I've explored this in amused mastery, but there's a natural flow that's learned between an older brother and a younger sister, or sometimes a capricious younger brother to an older sister, that translates to an inter-bedroom fun relation with men and women later in adulthood. My brother is very conventionally masculine, a somewhat natural alpha in his mindset, and his positive masculine frame carries over into his role as a father. This sets the environment in which his son and daughter are learning inter-bedroom fun interactions with one another. Both are very headstrong, but also respectful in a way that only a positively male-dominant father can inspire. I bring this up because I feel this learning illustrates both the problem most men later have with shit tests, as well as the key to capitalizing on them. No passing. You'll notice I didn't say pass the shit test. I think it's a misnomer to view shit tests as a pass or fail. Most men think that easy binary win-lose proposition, thinking that way, but the problem I have with that is that passing a shit test implies finality. You'll always be shit tested by a woman, so you never really pass the test. However, you can and should turn those tests to your advantage. Many a well-meaning RP woman and a few purple pill life coaches who don't like offending the delicate sensibilities of today's virtuous women like to call these fitness tests. The renaming sprays a bit of perfume on an otherwise unflattering aspect of women's hypergamous nature, but under this is the same truth. And here's a quote. Women's shit testing is a psychologically evolved, hardwired survival mechanism. Women will shit test men as autonomously and subconsciously as a man will stare at a woman's, they cannot help it. And often enough, just like men staring, even when they're made aware of doing it, they still do it. Men want to verify availability, bedroom fun availability, to the same degree women want to verify masculine dominance and confidence. I think the early PUAs were correct in calling these tests crap tests, because the nature of those tests they met in their field approaches were very much like the crap they'd been given by their male peers throughout much of their lives. Part of the male experience is giving your friends crap, ribbing them, messing with them, and otherwise talking crap about them. If you're in a fantasy football league, you probably get that smack talking raised to an art form. In this context, it's not so much a fitness test as it is a form of male-specific camaraderie. If it's a test of anything, it's a test for the social intelligence that a guy gets that his friend is giving him crap and can laugh about it and give as good as he got. This is part of men's preferred, overt form of communication which baffles women who are unfamiliar with it. If I'm playfully insulting you, if I'm messing with you, it means I consider you a friend and I expect that you'll just get it and know this when I do it. Sadly, this is often the first offense women take when they insert themselves into male spaces. They take the crap talk personally, or at the very least, they have to make an effort to communicate in an open and often vulgar, but no less meaningful way than men do. Unless they were raised in the increasingly rare household of a strong masculine influence, fathers or brothers, it's likely these women won't just get it and bend their efforts to change their communication to something she's more comfortable with, and something her feminine primary expectations convince her is correct. Getting the test. Even if you've had the benefit of having your bratty sister punch you in the arm after teasing her, you may not realize it's a form of crap testing you. One of the most important aspects of dealing with a crap test is understanding the basic fundament of just getting it. She wants you to get it on your own without having to be told how. That initiative and experience needed to have had developed, and it makes you a man that's worth competing for. Women despise a man who needs to be told to be dominant. Overtly relating this to a guy entirely defeats his credibility as a genuinely dominant male. The guy she wants to sleep with is dominant because that's the way he is, instead of who she had to tell him to be. Observing the process will change it. And this is the root function of every crap test ever designed by a woman. If masculinity has to be explained to a man, he's not the man for her. A woman wants to know a guy just gets it, but she still needs a method to determine that he does. And there's the crap test. For women, this method must be in as covert a form as possible to protect the integrity of not exposing her own bedroom fun strategy to herself. When openly analyzed, this seems like madness to men striving for a rational solution to a problem, but a method comes from a subconscious want of not having to convince a hindbrain that he does in fact get it, and gets it so well that he neither acknowledges it nor overtly, nor asks for her assistance in figuring it out. And this is from Plate Theory 6. Crap test is used by women to determine one or a combination of these factors. Confidence, first and foremost. Options, is this guy really into me because I'm special or am I his only option? Security, is this guy capable of providing me with long-term security? I'd also add these requisites imply a testing for masculine dominance as well as his bedroom fun market value. Women want a man that other women want to sleep with and other men want to be. The conflict inherent in women's crap testing is that she must simultaneously determine a man has other bedroom fun options than her, while also attempting to limit those options and making herself his primary focus. Okay. Yeah, there's something wrong with the therapist lady on the right here.
My mom made my bed, but rarely said I love you.
Yeah.
You didn't I get that. I think it was similar in my family, and I think there were like downsides and benefits from that. I know for my dad, it was like he held me to a really high, extremely high expectations. And I also am not entirely sure if I would have accomplished as much as I have accomplished without those high, being pushed like that. So, but there wasn't a lot of, and I think part of this was from being ill all the time. So there's a lot of focus on me being ill, but there wasn't a lot of positivity. And that also could have been shadowed by my depression. Mm-hmm. So I also didn't pick up on positive things. So I don't even know what happened, but
here's what I think. I think that there was a lot wrong in the marriage between your mom and your dad, because your dad is a beta male and your mom doesn't respect him. And I know this because when they had the interview between Mikhaila and Mikhaila's mother, I think her name is Tammy Peterson. Tammy basically said that Jordan asked her to marry him 5 times, and she only married him at 28. So think about it. She didn't marry him at 18, didn't marry him at 19, didn't marry him at 22, 23, didn't marry him at 24 when she was at her bedroom fun most availability. No, she was a masseuse. So she was basically sleeping around. And then finally, she took the safe option of Jordan later on in life, right? And this rubbed off on the children. She never respected him. And so, because of that, the children grew up in an unstable environment, right? And they get messed up like Mikhaila did.
Experience was there wasn't a lot of positivity. And so I think that's probably why I react well to the words of affirmation. And then I probably give it out with touch. Yeah. Why do you think, Vanessa, you're uncomfortable? Because I'm definitely in the same kind of boat. Like, I like it. But at the beginning, I really didn't like receiving it. It was like, oh, I didn't even know how to receive a compliment. And I definitely have a difficult time saying, like, good job to people.
By the way, that, having a difficulty receiving a compliment, that is another huge red flag. Because what it means is the men she chose when she was younger, when she was at her greatest bedroom fun availability in her prime, those men never gave her any of that. You see what I'm saying? So she's choosing the men that aren't like that when she's young and at her most fertile. And later on, you see, that's how it goes. And actually, I know that that's the case because if you, like, she got pregnant at 19. So that's the guy.
Which is messed up.
Very common for those who struggle with codependency to have a hard time accepting compliments.
Mikhaila, you look very beautiful.
Weird.
Great.
Yeah,
great,
don't do it. No,
Just like,
stop.
Okay, the podcast is over.
Like, we're done.
Look at how uncomfortable he is giving compliments and how uncomfortable his wife looks when he does it. Just, guys, I'm telling you guys, there is something seriously wrong with their dynamic.
So also have a hard time. So some of the research that I've done around that specific topic, people who have a hard time hearing and really believing compliments, right? So we can do just like saying thank you, but doesn't necessarily mean that I believe it. A lot of it has to do with if you have a belief deep down inside that you are not whatever that person is telling you, right? So I think you're so amazing. I think you're so intelligent. I think you're not only just beautiful. I mean, it could be physical attributes, but it could be attributes about you as a person. For those of us who have a deep belief that maybe we don't actually check those boxes, it actually feels a little bit like, and this is all kind of happening unconsciously, right? It's this belief that we're somehow being fraudulent by accepting that compliment, which is very uncomfortable. And so we'd rather deflect and dismiss it because we actually truly don't believe what you're saying deep down inside, right? So it feels like we're not being honest. It's really interesting.
I think also there's, there are many layers, and I think also what you're used to in previous relationships, So
I've never been okay with it. I've never been comfortable with it, I guess.
You see? Like, look. Okay, something else. If you say something and she's always contravening it, she's always going against, there's a problem, right? If she's always going against, she's always trying to prove you wrong. Like, that's not great. It's really not great. Okay, anyway, let's go to the Reddit article here. How do I, who's 25 female, deal with my husband's 29 male weird comments? I'm pregnant by my husband, and I just found out recently. Unplanned but not unwelcome. We both wanted kids at some point. Recently, he's made comments to make me feel like he's not going to want me if my body changes from the baby. I know that I could be reading too much into things, so let me know. These are some things he said to me. If you were to think, if I were you, I think I'd just get a C-section. It'd be easier that way, don't you think? Asking about how long it takes for something to heal after birth. If I were you, I'd just use a formula instead of breastfeeding. Asked me if I had a plan for working out to strengthen my core and lessen the damage. Offered to start working out with me after the baby is born. I just changed the subject because these comments made me feel insecure. I don't know if I'm being crazy or projecting, because in the past he's made a lot of comments about my body. Should I bring it up to him or just have some coffee and forget about it? Top comment, 372 upwards. So he's always been this superficial? You mentioned you just found out, so I assume you haven't seen a healthcare provider yet. I strongly encourage you to have him accompany you to your appointments if you're comfortable with that. He has a lot to learn, and a good provider will kindly but firmly put him in his place, so to speak. But also, yes, absolutely talk to him. Oh, and C-sections are more difficult to recover from, C-sections. If he's concerned about your I can assure you it bounces back to normal for the most part. If he's concerned it'll get stretched out, you can suggest he get yeah, okay. Just passive-aggressive stuff. But Basically, what's the comment saying? The comment is saying, just be disrespectful, just be rude. He is being superficial if he is not attracted to you if you gain a lot of weight. 156 upvotes. Yes, I knew that about him. His best friend actually told me that he commented so much on his looks when they were in his teens. He feels like he has lasting damage from it. I had to tell him to just not say anything about my appearance, good or bad, lol. I guess it's time to set that boundary again. Okay. Huh. Okay. 656 upvotes. Your husband's comments are very concerning, both for being chauvinistic and ignorant. He needs to know his comments are hurtful and dangerous. His views don't match up with widely known facts in the medical community and what is best for you and your baby. If you're comfortable, bring him along with the OB and have him ask questions. Have the OB tell him upfront answers. Or you can call the OB office and ask if they have any literature for expecting fathers who need a reality check. C-sections aren't easier than cosmetic surgery. They're major abdominal surgery with the possibility of serious complications. The husband stitch isn't for funsies. It can cause you pain and long-term incontinence or bedroom fun issues. While a plan with abdominal pelvic rehab specialist is a great idea for postpartum mums, it shouldn't be for his enjoyment, for your long-term health. Again, see, incontinence issues, tone, and comfort for you are the key goals. If he persists, strongly consider therapy. He's looking out for his own business interests and not yours. So again, what's the point? If he talks about your body, it's his problem. There's something wrong with him. You know, it's like, what womanism says is never do anything for the express pleasure of a man, and I'm inclined to agree with what that statement says here, because like all of these statements, right? They're just agreeing with that concept of never do anything to please a man, right? How about, yes, honey, I will make sure that my body is nice after I've had the child. How about that? You know? Anyway. Because the husband has to maintain his superiority for you to be attracted to him. So why don't you maintain your looks to be attractive to him? Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, we're going to end the video there. Again, if you're new to the channel, like in the comment, the content, hit the sub, hit all for notifications. If you'd like to support me, I have a Patreon with exclusive content, newly revamped, posting weekly content. Patreon.com/theheliosblog. Just go there and subscribe. You can also drop me a donation like Tom M here. Shout outs to him. Link is in the description. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to my videos, especially if you listen to the end. You guys are wonderful. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.